All right, guys, welcome to Entrepreneurial Therapy. Well, we just named it that because we realized that there's hard times as we go through the rough and rough every single day, moving and grinding, that we forget to live sometimes. We forget to take care of our health, and we forget that, hey, there's other people who have been in this business for a while that can guide you guys through every step and every challenge that we go through as individuals.
Yeah.
And today we're talking about something that a lot of people struggle with, that we used to struggle with quite a bit. And it was understanding the flow of money, the abundance of money, and really understanding the depths of how to create abundance in our day to day life. So, everybody, type in the chat, how are you feeling 1 out of 10? Type it in the chat. I want to know. I want to see you guys. I want to connect with you guys. I want to know how you guys are feeling. Let's shout some people out. We got Bill.
Bill's
Bill
on
is-
every day.
Bill
So
is
good to
on
see
every
you,
day.
man. Mimi. So nice to see you.
Mimi also says hi to Elizabeth and Laura, so they're in here. Awesome. Hi, Elizabeth. Hi, Laura.
Aiden, what's up, brother?
What's happening, Aiden? It'll be good to see you next week. Oh, all our people are here. We're feeling good. You feeling good?
I'm feeling good, man. It's been a very hectic Tuesday, getting ready for our live event
Yes.
coming up next week. And getting a lot of prep work done because we spend not only hours prepping for this show, but we spend a lot of hours envisioning the entire event, who's going to show up, and how we can give the absolute best to our crew who is coming in from all across the country to be with us. So we're excited about that, be diving in about money and business and life and real estate and all sorts of good things that are going to help you grow and build. Today, I really think it's so important to point out, hey, Elizabeth's feeling 10. So important to point out that all of us have the opportunity in front of us, the same opportunities, maybe in different levels, maybe in different ways. But I've seen people who go to the same event or the same grocery store or the same restaurant, and one of them says it was a horrible experience, and another one goes, my gosh, that was a really, really good thing.
Yeah.
Because their perspectives were different. The way they accepted the opportunities were different, or maybe what they ordered off the menu was different. And for each of us, we are presented so many opportunities, and to make sure we're in the right space to be able to accept those opportunities and lean into them is going to be vital. So by the end of today, you're going to be absolutely clear on what you can and should do to enjoy the money you're making, but make more money, attract more great people around you, and make sure you're in a position, even if the circumstance hasn't changed, that your perspective of the circumstance is such that you can continue to enjoy your life and business as you want to and as you can.
Absolutely. What's up, Roberto? What's up, Kevin? Oh, this is a good time. So we got some of our favorite people up in here, and we are just enjoying these live shows. But we're going to jump right in, guys. When we think about money, when we think about currency, we forget sometimes that the energy behind it is so important to put in the forefront of our minds.
Yeah.
Right? When you spend at a store, how do you feel when you spend? Or when you're paying a contractor, when you're paying your team, or when I'm paying for dinner, you're paying for dinner. What is the emotion that you're putting behind that?
Yeah.
And when we study that for ourselves, we start to realize, wow, there is so much energy attached to money.
Yeah.
So what we're going to go into is 10 bullet points, 10 important descriptions and topics and takeaways on this idea of energy of money and how you can start attracting it to you. And it's going to make sense. It's not like a spiritual woo-woo thing. It's principles taken from kingdom principles. It's principles taken from ideas that we've learned from multiple mentors that have been doing incredibly well financially. And it's things that we practice every single day. So let's start with number 1. Type it in the chat, everyone. Type in the chat, the energy of money. And when we have you guys type in the chat, this is your note-taking time, right? This gets you in the zone, ready to focus in, because when we're doing entrepreneur therapy, we want you guys to be here because it's going to feel like you're able to drop all the weight.
Something I want to point out, Leo, when I was 12, it was 2004, I went
was
together.
2.
You was 2. I went together, and me and my brother bought our first 3 feeder calves, and we raised them up, and we built a fence. Dad was encouraging us to be little entrepreneurs. We built a fence. We raised up the calves to feeder calf size, and we sold them off. And we made enough money to pay off the entire fence that we had paid for, and also to pocket a few $100s. We was giddy. Like we're super businessmen, man. Or like we had our first big win. It's hundreds of dollars. Our entrepreneurial bug is growing, and I am so excited. So I did what any good entrepreneur would do, and I went and bought 3 more.
Uh-huh.
But then I had a challenge. One of them got sick and died.
Oh no.
And I'd paid like $150 for that little calf, and that was a lot of money.
Right.
And I was distraught. Now I share that looking back, sad that the calf died, except $150 is, was a lot to me at the time.
Yeah.
And looking back though, that same energy that I had when things went well, and then when my calf died, and I didn't make any money on that second go around because I had to buy medicines for them all. I had to do everything. And I ended up, I don't remember if I lost like $50 on the 3 or made fit, but it was basically a break-even venture. I was so disappointed. And I didn't realize, but the way that I was dealing with the emotion of my first entrepreneurial venture carried through to the way I was dealing with the emotion of my first wholesale deal that made me $3,000. I was so excited, to a deal that I flipped that lost me several $1,000s. And all of these emotion up and downs continued for me into the business until I learned what you're now talking about, the energy attached to the money and the spiritual success principles really of money, which we're going to dive into today. And I share that because I think so many here can relate to, you're going through something, you're excited, you bought some leads, maybe you bought a house, you've done a deal, or you made a sale in your company, or you got a client for your company, and it's exciting.
Yep.
But then things also go to crap. Not everything goes as planned. And then it's easy to have the opposite emotion. And something that we've talked a lot about is learning to be what my dad would call an even keel. Enjoy the moments of good. And when it goes bad, as my dad would say, let the ball bounce.
We got to get your pop on here. We got to get your dad on here one day to give his one-liners. I think that'll be a lot of fun. If you guys want that, let us know, because a lot of our wisdom comes from his pop.
That's so true.
Little did you guys know. But let's break this down, guys, because a lot of people don't actually recognize that money is neutral, right? There's not a positive or negative assigned to money. It is neutral. But the energy that you attach to it makes it happy or unhappy. And now you're saying, Leo, what the heck does this mean? What are we talking about? Happiness and unhappiness as it ties to money. But when you view money with gratitude and joy, it becomes, as we know, a positive force in our lives. Now, think of it as an exchange of value and flow, not something to hoard and fear. Now, I say that because my mom used to tell me, Leo, if you hold the money too hard in your hands, it's going to seep through your fingers like sand. And I would always remember that because I saw how abundant my mom was and my family was, but I realized that we were very below middle class. We always struggled, but my mom always made it seem that we were very abundant, which allowed me to build and develop an abundant mentality as I got older because I never felt that lack. Instead, I learned to develop my mind to see things as, hey, I am so rich in life. I'm so rich in friendship. I'm so rich in other areas. And there's an abundance in those areas. So when I look at money, although the bank account wasn't as big as it was, because I always kept this mindset of abundance that allowed me to view money in a very positive way.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that? Because you had an interesting upbringing when it came to money and when it came to understanding it, and you have made an incredible amount. If you guys don't know, Andrew has done over 500 properties, 500 houses. He's the one that taught me how to do real estate and taught me how to make money. So talk to us about that. Like, what got you to understand money at the level that you do now?
So I think there is an action of scarcity and an action of abundance. And separate from that is the action of, the emotion of scarcity or the emotion of abundance. And so I had learned from, for example, my dad. I would see him at church growing up when we didn't have anything, so to speak, put $100 bill in the plate if he had it anywhere in his ability to do so. So I always seen him giving first. And so I think that was a principle that I learned. So when I started getting into business, I learned I had to invest in myself. I learned to invest in education. I learned to give first, but I still had an emotion of scarcity. So even though my action was an abundant action and helped me to step into making good money, I still had that emotion of scarcity that even though I was doing the quote right thing or the abundant thing, inside I was still terrified of, oh crap, what if this goes wrong? What if I lose everything? What if I have all of these negative emotions attached to money? And so I think it's so freeing when you can not only do the actions of abundance, but when you can actually embody the emotion or the feeling of abundance.
So let's put this into practicality. Let's put this into something that everyone can do today. And it's number 2. And write this down, guys. Type it in the chat.
Oh, this is my favorite.
Give and you shall receive.
Yeah.
And we kept it simple and short so we can really go in depth in explaining the experience that happens within you when you give. Something in my life changed when I started to go to Starbucks, and I started to do this one thing. It changed my life forever. I would go to Starbucks and I would get myself a nice little, you can't see, but I actually have some coffee in there. I have an espresso. Actually, I have it right here, right? So support small businesses. I would get this coffee, and I had this person I would follow, and he would say, go to Starbucks and rejoice in how incredible it is that you can get a nice black coffee for $2. Yeah. Now it's like $9, but it's okay. And he would rejoice in it. And he was like, wow, all this goodness and love and energy of coffee for just $2? Wow, life is good. And he started doing this thing, and it became a movement where people would rejoice in spending $2 to get an incredible coffee. But then he started to do this one thing after that. He started to pay for the people behind him in the drive-thru. And I was like, wow, that is so inspiring, because he would show the expression and emotion that would happen to the person behind them because someone paid. And it might have been $15 and it's fine, but the person was so happy. So much emotion of happiness was created for $15. So I started to do that, guys. I started to go to Starbucks and I would pay for my coffee, and then I would buy a $30 gift card and I'd say, please spend it on the people behind me. And I would go and I would sit and I would drink my coffee. And guys, I would just sit and enjoy person after person, them saying, thank you, God, right? Or it's such a good day. And they would smile so much. And I realized that I can buy that much happiness and joy for $30. Imagine what else I could do with my money.
Yeah.
And what that did for me, guys, it showed me mentally, the conversation with myself was, Leo, you're rich, you're abundant. You can do this for other people. And because you spent X dollars, you spent $30, you created so much happiness. That's why I'm going to go get more. That's why I'm going to do more sales. That's why I'm going to work harder, because look at how much happiness you created.
When you give, you go from the land of never enough to the land of more than enough.
Absolutely.
And I think the toughest thing to understand about giving what we most need is it doesn't ever add up on a spreadsheet. Right. And as we're going through this journey today with you, talking about how that we build this, how that we build the foundations and the principles around money, the spiritual laws of success and happy money, it doesn't always add up on a spreadsheet, but it is the only place. Actually, this is something that is really interesting to me in the Bible. As far as I can remember, around money is the only place God said, actually, he said, test me, try me, give first and see if I don't open the windows of heaven and pour you out so much blessing you can't even receive it all. Like, how cool is that? That everywhere else, like, God's just God. But when it comes to money, he's like, hey, guys, test me on this one. Like, try it. Watch what happens. And every time that we do that, it always proves true. It's a spiritual law of success, just like gravity. If you jump, something's going to happen. and gravity is always there. The law of sowing and reaping never changes.
Absolutely. Generosity speaks to us. It's a conversation with ourselves saying, Leo, you're okay. You're making more and more is going to come, so you can spend freely. You could be a cheerful giver. You can smile and you can give to other people, and more is going to come. Right. And while my spiritual belief was always that, okay, you give, God's automatically going to give you 10x more. Right. My understanding of spiritual law and that part of the world, that part of spirituality, I'm learning every single day. But what I can tell you is that every single time that we have given, we have seen it with our friendships, with our clients, with our people, that it always comes back. I can't say it's tenfold every time. Sometimes it's 100-fold. Sometimes it's some of the greatest experiences in life that happen because you gave. So I have some scriptures here that I would like to read out. Luke 6:38 says, "Give and it will be given to you. A good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over will be poured into your lap. For the measure you use, it will be measured to you." What does that mean, Andrew?
So my belief has always been, and it's not a direct result of saying, hey, it's a slot machine. I put in $1, I get 10 back. But to me, it says, hey, I got you. And if you step out, the biggest challenge sometimes is for us to step out from what we know to what we don't know.
Yeah.
But the moment we let go of what we know, what we don't know tends to show up.
Okay.
Now, that's when it's with the right people in the right places. God is somebody you can trust. Like he's got you. And when you first let go, I remember the first event I ever went to, it was like a great big wall. And I was terrified to let go. I say let go of what I have. I didn't have much to let go of. I was terrified to let go of what I had. But when I let go of that, it was as if a whole new world opened up to me and said, this is how you do deals. And now I had inspiration and motivation, and maybe it was the great big $34,000 of credit debt I just took on, but I had inspiration and motivation and some guidance I didn't before have. So immediately a whole new world opened up.
Right.
And while it doesn't always come back dollar for dollar in the same way, I notice that opportunity will begin to present itself. We think differently when we step into abundance. We're looking for an opportunity that perhaps we'd have missed before.
So, Andrew, some people on here are maybe going through a hard time.
Yes.
Right? Just like we have been through, where we've been at a very, very low point, and we say, how can we give?
Yeah.
Right? There's not much to give. What do you say to those people who are saying, all right, Andrew, all right, Leo, I get it. Right? It's easy for you guys to say to be able to give. But how about the person who's in a struggling position and saying that? How do I give in this time?
Yeah. So I am of the belief that you give what you most need, because that's where the test of faith is. So I don't just preach this from a perspective or say this from a perspective of doing well. I say this from an experience in 2012 and 2013 when I had only down to my last couple $100, and I chose to give some of the last that I had. I speak this from being the most depressed I was ever been. I wouldn't admit I was depressed back then because I don't like to give way to those things. But I didn't want to get up. I dreaded the sun coming up. I hated my life. I hated my business. I hated everything that I thought I was working for.
Yeah.
And in those moments, how I found joy would be going to the grocery store and asking people how their day is and giving them a word of encouragement. And it was so interesting because in those times, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but I remember I had some credit cards and I went to the grocery store and I was hoping it didn't bounce for my groceries, let alone somebody else's.
Right.
And I went to the grocery store and I not only paid for my groceries, I took the risk to pay for the person behind me. And it was like $80, which is a lot of money for me at the time. And I paid for them and it felt so good. And it came back every single time in ways that I couldn't even measure. It would be a deal that called me out of the blue. It would be a partnership. It would be a private lender. It would be something always showed up in a time that I needed it most. And so while, again, I say it doesn't add up on a spreadsheet, I am of a firm belief that when you can step from lack into abundance, you don't do it because you have it, right? I didn't say, gosh, I wish I felt better so I can encourage somebody, which is the exact same thing. But how often do we do that? Well, I'll invest in my education when I after I've made some money. Well, I'll do this thing. I'll give back and buy for Starbucks behind me once I've got 100,000 in the bank, or once I have 1,000 in the bank. I'll smile at somebody once I get over this depression.
Right.
And it's easy to, everybody thinks they'll do better when they get to X point.
That's right.
But it's only those who can take action now, who can, in the midst of the challenge, say, I'm going to smile anyway. I'm going to say, thank you, God, anyway. I'm going to give anyway. Those are the people who experience blessing at a level, abundance at a level that it doesn't appear anywhere else. And I don't know how to explain that.
Well, let's try to explain it. The spiritual side is hard to explain.
Yes.
But when you went and you smiled at someone, you weren't feeling the best, or when you gave when you had almost nothing, right? And you felt good. I think the feeling is the aspect of it, right? Because in that moment, you can serve someone, you can pay for someone's groceries, you feel abundant. It doesn't matter what you have.
Yeah.
It's just the moment of paying for someone else that makes you feel abundant. Yeah. Now, that moment of abundance sticks with you for a while if you choose to stick with it, if you choose to focus on it, right? And that moment of abundance happens where maybe that call would have came anyways. But because you were in this moment of abundance, of feeling good, right? Abundance is one of the highest frequencies that you can have alongside of love. So when that call did come, you were able to take it with good energy and good faith, knowing that, hey, you're abundant. Everything's going to be okay. But let's just say you did not give and you didn't smile and you kind of just sat in your own world and in your own demise. You get a little bit sad. You get a little bit in a rut and a little bit in a spiral. When that call comes, it's going to be the worst of your spirals. Because you're going to take that call, be like, this isn't going to work anyways. Who's calling me? Right? Who's wasting this time right now? And you answer the phone, say hello. And all of a sudden, it's because you had this scarcity mentality, which if you look at a meter of frequency, guys, scarcity is one of the lowest emotions that you can feel because it's just aligned with worry and doubt.
Wow.
One of the lowest emotions that you can have. But then the highest, love, abundance, knowing that there's a plethora out there. There's a plethora of air. You never breathe and say, oh, I hope that's not the last breath that I can take. Right? That means you are rich in life. You are rich in friendship. You're rich in so many other areas. Just transfer that into your idea of wealth and money and trust in God's provision that He's going to supply you. That's the spiritual side. And then also just the technical side of why does it make sense when I give, it comes back? Because you're ready for it, because you're abundant.
There's something about flow and velocity of money and the transfer of wealth and the energy that is exchanged during those moments.
Type it in the chat, transfer of wealth.
And I think these things are happening all around us. And either we sit back, anybody here relate to you watch the news, you watch Instagram, you watch social media, you watch friends, and it feels like you're on the sidelines watching people win and you're like, good for them, but when's it my turn, right?
Right.
And you celebrate them, but you're also going, when's it my turn? And you feel like left behind in a way. And I remember feeling that way years ago. And it wasn't until I could be genuinely happy for them and start to understand how to step into that flow.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it doesn't make any sense. And if we're not in an open mindset, we don't want to hear how to step into the flow. Because it's like, I'll get into the flow when I finally have my life together, all right? I'm too freaking depressed and broke right now. And so we have this negative energy we're putting out. And I speak this from experience of myself.
Yeah.
And I would go through those moments of thinking I was too tired, too broke, too depressed, too all the negative things. If I can just get my crap figured out, then I can be a blessing to somebody else.
Yes.
And sometimes in those moments, it's literally just giving what we most need.
Type in the chat, rejoice. I'm going to explain what this means for a minute, guys, and we're gonna lean in a little bit. When you rejoice, It is, again, one of the highest vibrations, the highest frequencies that you can feel, because it simply means, Andrew, I rejoice in your success. I rejoice in your life, right? I feel that energy towards it, and it's one of abundance. When you rejoice in someone else's success, no longer are you envious or jealous of someone's success, which just simply tells you everything, guys, is a conversation with yourself. It tells you, it says, I am not abundant, and they have what I want, and they took it. And because of that, it's not there anymore. I can't have it anymore. That's why I'm envious. That's why I'm angry, because you have it and I don't.
That's well described.
But then when you rejoice in other people's success, it's saying, oh, you got it. And I'm excited. I am inspired by you. I know I'll get mine, but right now I'm going to rejoice with you because you just got it. And I'm so happy for you. Your life's going to improve. Your energy is going to be better. You are more abundant. And I rejoice in that, which just simply means let me borrow that energy because you have an abundance of it. I'm not taking from you because I rejoice, guys. It's almost like saying Andrew has a bucket of money energy, right? It's overflowing. If I rejoice, if I'm envious of it,
By the way, I will have that bucket of money energy next week, 5 through 7 at the True event.
there you go. If I wanted to get into that bucket of energy, I can't just be angry at it, right? Because if I'm angry at it, my bucket that I already have is draining.
Wow.
Because I'm saying, oh, you have all my money. You have the money that I was going to make, but you took it, right? But then when I rejoice in his success, I say, Andrew, wow, that's incredible. I pray in my mind that you are able to steward that money, that you're able to abundantly create it. That conversation with myself is saying, I know I can make that too.
Yeah.
And I borrow that inspiration, which I take a cup of it, right? But it's okay because it's continuing to flow for you, and I pour it into mine. Now I'm feeling good. And then you get to rejoice in my success. That's why when you find an individual who genuinely supports you, genuinely wants you to win, one of the greatest transfers of energy happens there too. Because Andrew wants me to win. I want Andrew to win. We're incredible friends, incredible business partners in that way. Now, when people come around us, they feel that abundance. They feel the way we feel about money because we will slap our card down wherever we go. We got you. It's not even about money. It's about, I want to feel some rejoice on. Let me pay for you, man. Let me get some of that good energy. We no longer think about the transaction, the amount in the bank, any of that stuff, because we're so abundant in the energy of life and we're so rich in life. And we know, like, wow, we have this table and this tea and you guys are here and we love you. And it allows us to express.
Most of you. No,
most of you. We love all of you. We get to express this incredible feeling of life. But the key is we were like this in the low times.
Mm-hmm.
And me and Andrew, when we've been through low times, we were like this. We were still abundant. And that is why we teach this. And that's why we express this. Because we understand when people are not in the best place, it's sometimes hard to hear it.
Yeah.
But we got you. We got a lot more to cover in this talk. But how are you guys feeling? Like, type in the chat. We see everything. It's right here. The reason we look here, because it's right there.
Yeah. Unless there's ever a negative comment, then we don't see it.
Right, then we'll just skip it.
We don't see it.
We see it. What's up, Jerry? Jerry says he loves
Good
it.
to see you, man.
Mimi says, until further notice, I am celebrating everything. I love
Mimi
it.
has such a good attitude.
She absolutely does.
You're amazing.
You guys, when the reason we asked you guys to comment is because we just like to see where you're at.
Yeah.
And if you're enjoying this, then we'll keep that flow running. We always have a structure. Me and Andrew, we prepare a long time for these calls every single day alongside the meetings that we have. But we just want to make sure, hey, are you guys feeling it? Are you feeling good? Are you rejoicing in that success? Are you rejoicing in our message? And if so, good. We'll keep it going.
Something I think that you touched on, Leo, that is so important is as you're walking in abundance, and I share this because I think this is so important for everyone to get. You said that we are walking in the place even whenever we have not been in the best place financially. And years ago, I remember being in the worst place mentally, physically, spiritually, like every aspect. And that is when the true test of abundance is, right? It's not when you just got the big check. Everybody can rejoice when you just got the big check.
Let's rejoice in Tammy having just hired a virtual assistant today.
Let's go, Tammy.
Shout out to Tammy. Let's go.
So happy for you. And I think that as you're doing this, this is what's very important to understand is walking in abundance. And when I say abundance, we talk about that a lot. It is understanding what Leo just explained. When you take a dip out of my, what'd you call it, the happy money bucket?
Currency energy bucket.
Energy bucket. When you take a dip out of that, I used to believe, oh, that means I have less and you have more now.
Yeah.
And that is such a lack mentality because like literally I can have plenty and you can have plenty and Laura can have plenty and everybody else can have plenty. Somebody just told me the other day, I was talking to somebody in San Diego and they said to me something about us having an event out here. They said, well, aren't you worried about training the competition? And I chuckled and I said, I've been training my competition in Louisville for the last decade. And so far we're still eating. And I say that lightheartedly because there's more than enough to go around. Like there's hundreds of thousands of houses in Louisville or hundreds of thousands of houses in San Diego area. So who am I to believe that because I helped 12, 20, 50, 100 other people start building their wealth that mine somehow went down? That's ridiculous. They're probably going to bring me more deals. And so as I'm realizing everybody gets paid, everybody's winning, now we just want to continue that velocity of money. We can't get it out the door fast enough. We got to get more going. We got to get more people helped because that means the flow speeds up. And when the flow speeds up and we're helping more people get where they want, the abundance continues to rise.
And shout out to everyone who just rejoiced in Tammy's success there. That's exactly what we're talking about.
That's the vibe.
Do these things as soon as they come up. Me and Andrew see money the same way we see air. When we're in the same room, just because he's breathing hard, and I'm like, Andrew, you're breathing really hard. It doesn't mean I'm going to get less air, less oxygen. There's enough for everybody. It's literally printed on a daily basis. It's just the amount of value that we bring into the marketplace. And the value we bring is the skill sets that we develop because the skill sets that we develop help other people. So at the end of the day, guys, the money that we make is the amount of people that we're able to help at the highest level. And when we understand that, hey, life gets really good because it goes back to the foundation of how can I help more people? I wake up this morning and say, how can I serve at the highest level today? How can I make sure that my cup is full so I can fill other people's cup? And I'm so happy at the end of the day, if I am just so wiped out, so tired, because I know I'll pray to God. I say, God, continue to fill my cup, continue to give me what I need. I trust in your provision because the next morning, guess what? I'm going to have it back. And it's going to be back, guys. And that is such an important thing that I want you guys to remember. But before we keep going, there's a big piece that I want to answer for you guys as it comes to money and business. Hey guys, I'm making money. I'm creating my business. I'm doing these things. But it seems like the more I make or anytime I make it, it goes out with expenses or it goes out in a certain way. And then my cup is never filled. Andrew, let's go into number three, which is type it in the chat, guys. Pay yourself first. Pay yourself first. Type in the chat.
So there's two things that I think should be top of list when you get a check. That should be giving and paying yourself. Now, doesn't mean I'm right. It's just a philosophy I hold that's worked well. And it comes from principles that I believe are important. But I remember starting in the business and I wanted to give. And so I would give some and then I would let everything, quote, go back into the business. And I kept saying to myself, like, I'm just putting it back in the business. I'm just putting it back in the business.
Right.
How many entrepreneurs have heard that, right? Just putting it back in the business. I'll let it build and I'll build this and the business needs it. And so I operated that way for years. I would take the minimal, tiniest bit out for myself. And I would put everything back into the business. And what I found was your business don't give a crap about you. Now, I say this with passion because I lived this for so many years, and I wish somebody would have taught me this, but maybe I wouldn't have listened. I don't know. And so your business doesn't give a crap about you. Your business doesn't have emotions. Your business is not looking out for you. Your business is there to serve you. And if you let it, it will drain your money, drain your energy, drain everything about you, drain your ideas. And at the end of the day, it will sit there, hopefully making money at best or broke at worst, and your life will suck and your business will suck too. But the good thing is when you make your business pay you, when every time you get a check, you have giving and you make your business pay you. Because after all, what's the whole point of your business anyway? To pay you and to make a difference. And so if you make your business pay you first, now at least in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line, your business has got in some money. And if it struggles, you have money. You can loan it back with interest if you choose to do that for your business. But your business won't miss the maybe 10% or 20% that you took off the top to pay yourself. And that is something that I wish so much I could have learned a decade ago, because it would have saved me so much hassle, so much headache, so many times of being down to zero, and so much opportunities that was lost because I did not take that principle into effect. And after we implemented that and I started paying myself first years ago, I'm telling you, the business doesn't miss the money because we do whatever we have to do. In other words, if you had a gun to your head and you had to make $2,000 this month, who here could make $2,000 this month? Give me a yes in the chat. All right, I'm going to explain it this way. If you had to make $2,000 this month, then you absolutely would make $2,000. You're going to stay alive. If the same gun was to your head and you had to make $20,000 this month, it might take a little more effort, a little more thinking, but you could pull that off too. Every one of you on this stream, I know you could. Some of you would probably be calling me. Others of you would say, easy, I've already done that this week. And so you're listening and you're going, okay, I could do that. And now you just begin to play with the numbers. What if it was 100,000? What if it was 200,000? So we do whatever we have to do. And if we are going to do whatever we have to do for the business, we might as well make ourselves have to make it profitable after we are paid rather than before we are paid. So in simplifying that, your business is going to be okay whether you pay first or you don't get paid first. Your business is going to do about the same whether you get paid first or whether you don't get paid first. The only thing that's different is how much you're giving and how much you're enjoying life.
I read this book called The Richest Man in Babylon. You ever read that?
Yes.
Very simple book.
Love that book.
It was one of my first books I ever read. And it was prior to my entrepreneurial
Such
journey.
good principles in there.
It actually is what got me into entrepreneurship because I started to learn, okay, wow, this makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
The Richest Man in Babylon, guys, it explains this concept that what I took away, because I read a lot of books and I only take maybe one or two things away, and that's okay. But I took away this idea of just paying yourself first with 10%. Everything you make, pay yourself first, right? I learned about giving after paying myself first, honestly. That's what I learned. But what happened was all of a sudden, as I was doing different hustles, guys, if you have heard my story before, I was always just selling things. I was always selling candy, and then I got into selling backpacks and then couches and then real estate, and I started getting it higher into real estate, bought 10, 15 properties with Andrew, and then we kept going more and more and more. But I always was someone who knew how to make money. But what happened was, because I learned about this principle from Richest Man in Babylon to pay yourself 10% first, before bills, before everything, take that 10%. If you make 1,000, take that 100 and put that 100 into investments. That's not $100 to spend. That is $100 to invest into investments. So I started investing into stocks. And I did that when I got my first job when I was 16. I was like, okay, every paycheck I took 10% and I would put it away. And what that did, it wasn't about building my money so strongly, because of course $100 a month, it doesn't go so far, but it was about building that habit of taking that money and putting it away and putting it in an investment. So that money, each one is a soldier. Each dollar is a soldier. They're going to come back with more soldiers. That's what you want your money to do. You want it to grow. And that's what I focused on. And to this day, I still take 10%. And now it's 15%. I put it away. I put it in investments. And those accounts continue to grow and grow and grow and grow and grow and continue to compound. But then what happened after that? I learned about the philosophy of giving. And I took the same principles and the same habits of putting 10% away, paying myself first, and I started to give the first 10%, actually before I paid myself. And again, these are just philosophies that we use, because I'll tell you, I've had months before where I couldn't eat. I couldn't pay for things. I was drowning, but I still tried to give first. And maybe it would have been easier if I just paid myself first, but it's just a philosophy that you can use. But when it came to giving, I take 10% and I put it into a giving account. It is a bank account that is separate from your expenses accounts, from your tax accounts, from your business bank account. It's separate. And when I create income, I take that 10% and I put it away. So now the reason when you come to dinner with us, why are we so willing to slap that card down is because we have that giving account. And really, when we pay for dinner, we don't use it. We use our expense account.
Yeah.
But when we're paying for things like we're giving food to the homeless, or when we see a GoFundMe when we're swiping on social media, the reason we'll give so much is because we have that giving account. But really, it's taught us that abundance, that there's always more to give, and there's always more out there. So we never are stingy. We never are holding our money too tightly, where again, the sand sifts through if you hold it too tightly.
It's systemized giving, because now you know every time you get a check, X dollars is going to give, X dollars is going to pay you first. These are just the principles. I'm not suggesting that I'm right or wrong. These are just the principles that we use, and the principles I wish I would have learned a decade ago. It would have saved me a lot of heartache. Now, by the way, for all of you on here, I want to take a 13-second commercial break and tell you.
Let's do 14 seconds.
14. Go to daily.truca.com, daily.truca.com, and sign up for these daily reminders. Every day we'll text you the link to make sure that you're live on here, daily.truca.com, and you can hop on every day and enjoy.
We need those reminders sometimes. Sometimes it's 3 minutes prior to being on. I'm like, oh crap, we got a live today.
Gail, my assistant texts me 15 minutes prior every day. Gail texts me, daily live 15
daily
minutes.
Live 15. So if it helps us, it's going to help you guys too. But if you got value from this, go to daily.truca.com, and it's going to just give you reminders so you can make sure you get this daily dose, because we went over some crazy principles today that you can start implementing.
And we're just getting started.
If you just had one of those, if you just had one of these nuggets and these takeaways and actionables every day, how much would your life improve over the next year? A substantial amount, right? They say if you improve 1% every day, by the end of the year, you're 37 times better in those areas that you improved on. Guys, that's our goal for you. Our mission is to help you live a free and fulfilling life. And with this daily live, it's about giving you those bite-sized pieces that you can take action on now, and so we can keep you guys accountable. All right, so type in the chat 1% if you went to daily.truca.com and you got those updates. Let's go to the next piece, and that is enjoying life along the way.
Oh my goodness.
I want you to talk about this, because you went through a 10 to 14 year, I think it was, not 14 year, 10 year grind of just hustle and bustle. And when we met, you know me, like I grew up in pop culture, so I'm asking you questions about music. Do you know this artist? And you're like, oh, I ain't never listened to music before. I'm like, okay.
It's all new to me.
Do you know this movie? And you're like,
Nope.
brother, I didn't do music in my day. You know, and I'm just asking you all these questions like, whoa, where was your childhood?
Is that how I sound?
That's how you sounded before. Brother, I'll tell you. So you went through a 10-year spell of just not living.
Yeah.
Now you live your life, but you're working harder than ever, but you enjoy your life. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, Andrew.
So I think I had this limiting belief that in order to really build, to really grow, to really be what I wanted to be, to build a portfolio, I thought I have to be focused. And to me, focused, I thought meant no gym, no most things enjoyment in life except work from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep, and try to talk to God and go to church on Sunday, right? Like that was my thing. And so 6 days a week, and sometimes trickling over into the 7th, I'm working just day and night. And what I realized was there, and I think for me, it was a resistance to people I've seen who, you ever met that person who was always complaining and never had anything, but they was just lazy?
Yes.
And you see that person, and I think I so badly wanted to make sure that I wasn't that person that I just worked nonstop. Now, there's something to be said for the hustle and the grind. Sometimes we still start early. Sometimes we still work late. And we're about effectiveness. We're about efficiency. And what I didn't realize was sometimes skipping lunch for an hour and doing an extra hour of calls, or being what I call hangry, hungry and tired, and not having rested, not having done anything, sometimes would have been more effective for me to take a 10-minute break or a 30-minute break and go grab a Subway sandwich and come back in 30 minutes, and I could have done a lot more in the next 4 hours than I did in the next 8 trying to grind it out and skip.
It reminds me of me before I knew how to change my oil in my car and pushing my car so much, because I came from San Francisco to Arizona, and I brought my car with me. And Arizona was like 30 degrees hotter than California. Was crazy. It was 100 degrees in the summer, and I chose to go there during that summer. And I never knew how to change my oil. I'm a school of hard knocks guy. Okay, I just do things, I make mistakes, and I learn from it. And I'm driving from now Arizona to San Francisco. It's a 12-hour drive. 6 hours in, I hear a little I'm like, oh, it's fine. What does that mean? All right, turn the music up. Boom, boom, boom. You know, I'm turning the music up. I'm enjoying it. I don't hear the anymore. So I'm like, fixed. Problem solved. So I'm driving, and I'm here. It's annoying. I'm hearing the happening more and more.
Coming back.
And I'm just like, oh, turn it up a little bit more. And I had a bad bass in my car. So it's like at that point, it was like everything sounded like the, so I was like, it's fine. 5 minutes later, I'm driving and I hear like a crazy bump and a boom happening in the front of my car. And I'm like, okay, now it's time to pull over, see what's going on here. I get out of my car. I FaceTime someone because I still have no idea what's going on. It's my friend Andy, who's a Korean guy. And I told him what happened. He was like, check under the car. And I was like, I FaceTime. I was like, huh? And he was like, oh, no, that's not good. It was a Korean guy, right? And he was like, oil was spilling everywhere.
Yeah.
It was spewing out. And I was like, oh, man, that is terrible. And I'm telling this story in a much more hyper way, but I was like, my heart dropped because like that was the last thing I had, because I had just failed in my wholesale business. But that reminds me of like how sometimes I'll feel now when I'm running on fumes. I don't have a lot of sleep in me. I didn't have any food, and I'm running. I've crashed so many times because of that.
Yeah.
So I remind myself of my car. Now I get an oil change every however often I'm supposed to get it. And I do the same thing with my body.
Yeah.
I fuel myself. I get the water I need. I get the food I need. Today I got a reminder of that because I didn't get enough sleep.
Yeah.
And I was feeling the fumes. And I was like, we're going to talk about this on this live because everybody needs to hear it. Everybody needs to continue working on giving themselves the oil, giving themselves the fuel, giving themselves the gas to keep going. And if we don't do those, it's hard to enjoy life.
So make sure you're celebrating the small wins, and as you're in the grind and hustle phase, that you're able to pause long enough to enjoy.
Yes.
Now, it doesn't mean that we turn off our phone for 30 days and go dark and say, gosh, I ain't buying any houses, or I ain't doing no deals, or I ain't making sales. But what it does mean is if the deal can't give you from 5 a.m. to 6 a.m. to get your morning routine done, it probably didn't need to be done anyway, right? Get the morning routine in. Take a moment for yourself. If there's a evening that you choose that you and your wife are going on a date once a month, or whatever your schedule is, like, it's going to be okay. The business can wait for an hour. And as you're looking at these things and you're saying, okay, I am going to grind, I am going to put in the work, I am going to build wealth, I am going to build cash flow, and at the same time over here, I am going to take the time to enjoy, to do the give back, to do some cool thing that I want to do, to take the trip and go shooting for the day. Do the things, because as time flies by, I remember when and this is going to sound funny to some who are my seniors out there, who are a few levels higher than me on the numbers. But when I hit level 30, otherwise known as age 30, I looked because I started real estate at 21. And I was like, wait a second. The last 9 years literally felt like a few weeks. And I know some of you guys can relate to that. Maybe you're 40, 50, or 60, or a little bit beyond that even. And you're looking and you go, gosh, the last 10 years did kind of fly by. Or the last 5 years did fly by. And so if you're looking at that and you're experiencing that realization, you say, okay, yes, I have to put in the work. I have to be smarter with the work, though, so I can take time to enjoy what I'm building.
Absolutely. So guys, let this be your reminder. We're talking a lot about abundance. We're talking a lot about enjoying your time and giving. Let this be a reminder to enjoy the parts of you that you enjoy so much.
It's good advice.
Like, think about a time when you were just so happy. Those times where you just belch out laughing and it hurts so much?
Yeah.
Those times are the
We
ones.
do that every once in a while.
Absolutely. And it's typically in the hard times.
It's true.
We'll just start laughing because we need to get back to that enjoyment. We need to remind ourselves that, hey, we're human. We're alive. We're in this human experience this one time. Of course, we get it every day, but this one lifetime, we get this to experience life. Let us enjoy that, because when we're in the grind so much, guys, and I get it, you're in the grind. You're like, okay, we need to make money. We need to create. I have people that's looking, that are depending on me, right?
Yeah.
I have to do this. But that's the point. When you give yourself a second to say, how am I feeling? How am I doing? Like, how's this process? How's this business going? Do I feel good?
Yeah. And that comes back to awareness.
It does.
And that's powerful.
And we're just asking you right now, like, what are those moments? Can we recreate those? Right? We only have 5 minutes left here, so we're going to speed round a little bit.
Boom.
We're going to speed around these things, and it's going to be fun. I'll do one, then you do one, then I'll do one, you do one. Let's just knock it out. You ready?
Perfect. Let's
All
go.
right. Type in the chat yes if you're feeling good, if you're ready to go with this speed round.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So number 4 was enjoying life along the way. Number 5 is going to be adopt an abundance mentality. Replace scarcity thoughts of I don't have enough to there's always more coming. Give a one-liner there.
Oh, always believe that there is more than enough, and always let your actions follow that faith. Because when you step out in that belief, it will soon become your reality.
Boom. Okay. All right. That was number 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Number 6 is the power of gratitude with money. So be incredibly thankful when money comes in and when money goes out. There's this idea that the Japanese say arigato, which means thank you, whenever you spend money, because it reminds you of the expression of gratitude of money itself. You're respecting money and the flow of it. If I pay for something, right? If I'm buying something from Andrew, let's say, I would say arigato. I say thank you. Thank you for letting me spend. Thank you for letting me put that out there. And now if Andrew spends something with me, I'll say thank you. Yeah. I'll say thank you to you, but I also say thank you just to the expression of money. And I remind myself that every single day, every single morning, and I love spending, right? I love spending. I don't call it spending. I call it investing. When I buy groceries, I'm investing in us, in our bodies. When I go to get gas, I'm investing into the fuel of my car. When I pay for things, everything that I pay for, all of our expenses, all of our business expenses, arigato, thank you so much. Thank you, God, for this ability to spend, because I trust in your provision that it's going to come back with so much more. Let's do 7. Give with joy.
Give with joy. I would say for me, it's going back to the action of giving, but making sure you attach the emotion of gratitude or the emotion of happiness, for lack of a better word, to do that. So what I might look at is, to your last point, is like, thank you, God, that even though, paying for new tires wasn't my preference, I had the money to pay for tires. I remember a day years ago, I had to put it on a credit card. So I in those moments am giving with joy, or spending with joy, or investing with joy. When the homeless person you see and you feel that thing on you, like I should get them a sandwich, rather than being like, why don't they get a freaking job already? Right? It's giving and saying, hey, I hope that meal blessed them. Yep. And so it is having that embodiment of joy, being, as the Bible would say, a cheerful giver. My dad has a one-liner about that. He says, God loves a cheerful giver, but he'll also take it from a grouch.
There you go. I love it. So something you could do today is when you go to a restaurant and they actually do serve you, not the ones where they put the thing around and say, I got a question for you. When you go to a restaurant, tip more. We always tip minimum 20%, but tip 50.
Yeah.
Tip 100%. Right? We do tipping dinners. We'll tip $2,000, $3,000 because we bring a lot of people around that also give a tip, and it's such a beautiful time.
Tip the uncomfortable amount.
Yes, it is a scary thing in the beginning, but trust me, it starts to get easier and easier and easier. So that was number 7. The last 3, I'm gonna say it all at once so you can write them down, and then we're gonna go in these next 60 seconds. Ready? Align money with your values. Stop resenting money and celebrate the flow of money. When you align money with your values, spend money on the things that align with you, that matter to you, experiences, causes, and things that bring people joy. Spend money there, invest money there, and then thank for being able to spend that money. If you like that, guys, spam the like in the chat because this boost it to the algorithm, and that's your way of thanking us and our way of thanking you also, by the way. Let's do 9. Stop resenting money.
Oh, this is one I had a big challenge with because a lot of people associate money with stress and struggle and all the crap that they've gone through.
Right.
But instead of saying I can't afford it, say, how can I afford this thing? How can I create enough value in the marketplace to make it happen? And this takes your mind from a negative place of I can't to an open place of how can I? And the subconscious immediately goes to work to making the impossible possible.
Bam. And lastly, guys, number 10 is celebrate the flow of money. Okay, money is meant to circulate. That's why they call it currency. When you spend, when you give, when you invest with intention, you contribute to the greater ecosystem, to the greater flow of money. So every time you spend today, all we ask is just say thank you. Say thank you to yourself. Say thank you to the money. Say thank you to the person. Thank and celebrate that flow of money. Be so excited to spend something today. And hey, if you want a place to spend, if you want a place to invest in yourself, text EVENT to 940-468-7852 because it's going to be one of the greatest investments that you can make in yourself, where you're going to continue to learn this happy money idea, this business idea, and these principles that will carry with you for the rest of your life. So if you want a good place to spend, here, but thank yourself for doing so.
Absolutely. Only come if you're positive and excited because we don't do negativity.
Nope. All right, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Same place, same time. We have a jam-packed rest of the week. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is ahead of us. Go make some money. Go spend some money. Go bless some people and be filled with joy. You are awesome and you are loved.
Peace.
Bye for now.
Have a great, fantastic day. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Out.